Good evening, everyone. Leah here, and I'm here with my friend Warren. It's a beautiful Monday, May 31st. We are looking quite nice out there tonight, and I don't know what the weather forecast is because I'm not a weather person, but anyways, I am here chatting with Warren Harrity, and just so everyone knows, and that's his cat, who also, Warren, you'd be surprised to know my cats love to be on camera. So yeah, they tend to try to get on camera with me all the time.
Seems like I sit down in front of the computer. That's where she wants to be, in the middle of the screen.
That's right. Absolutely. Mine are the exact same way. I'm actually trying to hold one off right now. So Warren and I have worked together in call centers for many, many years together. And Warren, I guess the first question I want to ask you is how has addiction affected you in your life? And obviously you don't have to go into a whole lot of detail, only whatever it is that you're comfortable saying. And then, just so that people can get a little bit of a perspective on why you're saying what you're saying and how you feel you're qualified to say it.
Well, as you know, I started into addiction at a very young age. Generally the same way everyone does. I started with tobacco products, moved from there into, different substances, marijuana, alcohol. Started probably around the age of about 8. I started using different types of tobacco products, Skull Dip, Golden River, things like that, chewing tobaccos. Spread out into cigarettes, and then smoking pot and what have you. And, by the time I was, 13, 14 years old, we were drinking all the time, and or any chance we could. Of course, at that age, it was a little bit more difficult to access and things like that. And then by the time I was probably 17, 18, 19 years old, I was a full-blown drug addict and alcoholic. I hit it well for about 30 years from then, or about 30 years. And it just brought me to the point where, I was they call a functioning addict. I kept my rent paid, and to a certain degree, and, food in the fridge, and had a vehicle, didn't drive around impaired or anything like that, but, still had somewhat of a moral conscience when it came to things of that nature. But the same scenario, got into the drugs very heavily, and it got to a point in my life where I just didn't want to be part of life any longer. And I ended up in the hospital as a result of a self-inflicted massive overdose that nearly took my life. I ended up on life support and things for some time, and pardon me, I don't mean to be rude or anything. This is something that I call it, the puzzle factory. When they finally felt that I was healthy enough that I could leave the hospital, I guess the doctor didn't know that I had been formed, and my son had begged me many times, hey, Dad, maybe you should do something about this. Hey, Dad, before you leave the hospital, maybe ask a few questions, see if you can get some help, right?
Right.
These 20-year-old kids nowadays, they think they know it all, right? Or
of course.
He's a little older now, but
yeah.
So we were checking out of the hospital, and he's like, hey, Dad, why don't you ask? Hey, Dad, why don't you ask? And the nurse is like, is there something that you wanted to ask me? And I said, well, I have some trouble with alcohol, and I thought maybe I could ask for some help and see if you have anything, before I leave the hospital that you can refer me to or set me up with. And I think she was doing my discharge papers, and that's when she kind of realized that, well, you may think you're leaving today, but you're not. She asked me, oh yeah, we can help you. Just sit down there. And so I sat down, and the pretty white men in the pretty white coats, and they came and they took me away, and they took me downstairs to what I call the puzzle factory. And I call it that with the utmost of love and appreciation, because, the puzzle factory is where we go to put the pieces together, right? And
right.
That's where I started putting pieces together. And a big part of it was my son was always there for me every minute. When I woke up from being unconscious, he was there. When I was sent downstairs. He and one of the nurses actually, that was my nurse, was a friend that I grew up with in high school.
Okay.
So there's some of the irony of it, eh? And
Yeah.
even he kind of said to me, like, man, what did you do to yourself? I almost lost use of my left arm. But nearly 23 hours aspirating in my own vomit with my arm across me under my body, and wrote on it. And I had damaged the ulnar nerve so badly that I pretty much had next to no use of it. Over the years, it's come back a fair bit. This hand's a little bit smaller than the other one, just in from the muscle damage and things like that. But it's functioning, and I'm grateful. So I spent some time downstairs in the puzzle factory, and the only way that they were going to let me out of there was if I agreed to go to some type of treatment or what have you. And Ken Brown was willing to roll the dice and give me a chance as a local facility here in Sault Ste. Marie. Another, great program that I'm eternally grateful for. And they helped me learn how to save my life. Set me up with some 12-step programs, of course, the normal AA and NA programs. And, I learned to start listening to other people, reading the literature, changing my life, basically. So that's kind of my background, and I've been living, be 9 years completely clean and sober here, coming up December 26th of this year. I don't even smoke cigarettes or drink coffee anymore either. So.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Life change.
That's wonderful. And, I'm sorry, but coffee, that's the addiction that I just can't seem to kick. But anyway, good for you. I'm very, very happy that you were able to kick your addictions. And certainly that required help, didn't it? Do you really think that you could have done this on your own?
No, because, one of the biggest things that I never realized, I didn't really know much about AA or NA in the first place. I didn't know much about treatment centers. I didn't know much about addiction and the way I was living.
Right.
And that's part of what plagues our society today is it's not that, it is a choice. I have a choice every day to get up and what I knew how to do. And that's because I didn't know any better or have any better options.
Right.
So I finally, I got rid of my home. I got rid of everything that I owned. And I allowed myself to be put into Ken Brown. And I knew I'm either, following this program or I'm going to end up out on the street because I didn't leave myself any ties to my former life. I still live in the same city. I still know a lot of the same people. As you know, you and I are still friends. I've known you for a long time. And
Yeah.
A lot of people really, a lot of people knew that I was a partier, but they really didn't think that, my addiction was that far gone. I was very good at hiding things as far as keeping a job or a professional, careers and things like that. But I couldn't have done it without the help and support of many people. Especially the Sioux Area Hospital. I continued going into, cognitive behavioral groups, therapy, different therapists, different groups and things like that up at the Sioux Area Hospital, even though I was still in Ken Brown and doing some things there. There's a Canadian Mental Health Association on Queen and Elgin there.
Right.
The lady there for a couple of years. For my first few years of sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
Came a day when she finally said to me, well, I don't think we need to book any more appointments. I think you're doing pretty well. And you have my number. You can contact me anytime. And I jokingly said, so I'm certified now to leave. And she said, well, you're not certifiable enough to keep. So, and I still remember that. And that lady is fired from there now. And there's just so many memorable things that happened through my recovery that keep a smile on my face and keep me going every day and keep me making that choice not to go back.
Right. Exactly. And now, so addiction, mental health, I know every media outlet right now is covering COVID-19 and protests and that type of thing. And today I wanted to talk to you about addiction and mental health because that's what's really being affected by the I guess, the measures that are being taken via COVID-19, regardless of what side you're on. And I know that you're pretty much kind of on the same page as I am with regards to COVID-19. But mental health and addiction right now is probably the number one, and has been a long time, what is affecting our city. Now, a lot of things coming up in the news lately with regards to withdrawal facilities that are being proposed by Ross Romano. According to him, 8 to 12 months, we're going to have some sort of facility, which will apparently, now this is what I read, 343,000 in ongoing operational funding for a new withdrawal management center. So according to Sioux Area Hospital, it'll house 20 short-term withdrawal management and safe beds, plus 4 medical beds for patients requiring more acute level of addiction care. So there'll be comprehensive assessments, medically supported care, so meaning Ativan, that type of thing. There will also be some mental health and addiction services provided, education on harm reduction, healthy coping, life skills, and relapse prevention. Apparently referrals as well as individual group counseling and support, peer support, and self-help groups. So that's, according to Ross Romano, that's apparently what's coming to Sault Ste. Marie. What do you think?
You know, I'm a big advocate in supporting recovery. I'm happy to support you in recovery. I'm not here to enable your addiction. And, I think they're on the right track. But when you use the word short term, you're setting up to fail. And I say that because recovery is a lifetime process. This is not something that you just go, 1, 8, 10, 12, hey, I'm good, and walk away. We can't, and 4 medical detox beds, it should be the other way around. We need probably about 30 medical detox beds at a minimum in Sault Ste. Marie. I do a lot of work out on the street. I know a lot of people. I grew up 30 years in this city in active addiction. If I don't know you, I know your parents.
Right.
And I've always been a part of Sault Ste. Marie over many, many years. So I know a lot of people. And I have a lot of friends that are suffering, and I've had a lot of friends that have died. Right. And they talk about these substituted use programs. We've got them all over Sault Ste. Marie. We've got methadone and Suboxone, and they're handing out morphine with these drinks and things now as well. And it's just keeping people stuck. They talk about, providing counseling and things like that. What we need is a facility that will medically detox you over a period of, anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 months, whatever is necessary to wean you off to where you're not on any, minor mood altering substances. Right. And then to give people an opportunity to be in a recovery situation, like a safe bed place, because you can detox people all you want. We've had a detox facility here for years. People go in, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, they get detoxed, they get feeling better, and they go right back out to the street or the crack house or trap house or whatever that they came from. And they sit around for a day or two watching their friends get high, and then there they are getting high again themselves. So there's more to helping people find recovery than just detoxing them.
So what is it that they would require? Obviously, like you said, there's more to it than just I'm going to be pumped with a bunch of Ativan and painkillers, and I'm going to detox. I'm going to wake up completely drug free and ready to go. And then what? So what should we be doing differently, I guess, than what we are currently doing?
I quickly learned, and I don't necessarily buy the whole disease thing. It's the only disease I've ever been able to quit. I still have COPD. I still have diabetes. I still have a lot of these things. I was able to quit the disease of addiction. And they try to say that you're always going to be an addict in addiction for the rest of your life. If I walk around telling you every day I'm a duck, probably do that for the next 10 years. The next time you ask me, I'm going to tell you I'm a duck. Right. We talk about the stigma of addiction. It's very important, you have all these people walking around, I'm an addict, I'm an addict, I'm an addict, I'm an addict, I'm a recovering this, I'm a recovering that. The whole point to being free of the slavery of addiction is to lose the addictive personality. And I quickly learned that I suffered from a disease of my attitude and thinking. And that's where the big change needs to come in. We can't just detox people and then send them back to the same place where the same attitudes, the same behaviors, the same surroundings, the same negative impact or stigma in their lives that brings them back around. So when we start talking, addiction facilities, um, we have a big problem in Sault Ste. Marie, and a minimum of 30 medical beds, I think, is still not enough, but it's a great start.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at probably needing, I would multiply double that at least to 60 long-term care beds. So after you're medically detoxed and cleaned out, you can start the rotation of, you come out of your medical detox in those 30 beds and you move into 30 safe beds so that you're not just being detoxed and kicked out. Come back every Monday and Tuesday or every Tuesday and Thursday for some counseling. It just doesn't work that way. You have to give people the opportunity to change their lives. You need some education upgrading, some job upgrading, some job positioning, some addiction-free housing is the most important thing. And I know that it may sound, a little off the wall, but as I said to you, I ended up in the puzzle factory, and that's because of drug abuse and the potential of harming myself. Well, and that's what's going on out there. We can't keep the needles in people's arms and calling it safe. There's nothing safe about it. The potential for overdose is in every needle. There is no safe drug supply. These are just terms that people use to try and sugarcoat things to get the support of the taxpaying public, and it's a little bit missing. It's like harm reduction. You don't reduce harm. Harm is harm. From a stub toe to a severed limb, it's all harm. So we have to start looking at effectively helping people change their lifestyles, and it comes with a lifestyle change. We need to give people better housing. The prices in the city for a place to rent are atrocious, and the amount that you pay for some of the places that are available are just as bad. We're moving people into inadequate homes. People are living so poorly. And I'm not saying, things like social assistance. I mean, what is it, $700 a month? Good luck even finding an apartment.
Yeah, exactly. Finding an apartment, number one, and then finding, something that's relatively inexpensive so that you can actually buy food and your medication and that type of thing.
And you still need to get around, and then up to the hospital, 3 days a week for treatment or wherever for treatment. And, it's just not, we need to make sure that people have a living income and addiction-free housing. And I think it's important, there's a model, I don't know if I sent you a link on it before, but there's things they're doing in California where these tiny house communities, and they're gated in, and anybody that lives there is searched before they go in for drug paraphernalia and weapons and things like that to ensure that they're clean and sober and not endangering anyone else there. They have medical facility on site and counselors on site, and it gives people the opportunity to get in, have a little space they can call their own. They're sharing it with 10 other addicts. They have peace of mind knowing that anybody that comes through the gate should be drug and alcohol free and not using. This is what we need for people. We can't keep filling people full of methadone. I know people that have been on methadone and Suboxone years and years and years, and they just continue to use any and all other drugs outside of that. And I've had lots of people that I know personally that have died as a result of these substitution programs, and that's what they are. They're drug substitutions. They're not recovery based where you're free from drugs. You're just substituting drugs, and they can be helpful. I'm not saying that they're completely useless, Of course, anybody can make the best of any situation if they try. And that's
Right.
the key. We have to stop the enablement and give people the opportunity to try a new way to live.
Hmm.
Be there to supply, the help they need with job placement, job training, education upgrades. And I'm
Right.
talking in general, as well as relapse prevention, addiction treatment, medically detoxing them to start and giving them an opportunity,
Mm.
to grow and to learn.
Right.
It's kind of like the jail system, right, Leah? We have all these people, we call them criminals, we throw them in jail, we leave them in jail, they get out of jail, and where do they go? Right back to the same
Yes. Yeah.
came from, or whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
And they continue to be surrounded by the same patterns, the same way of life, the same lifestyle,
Hmm.
the same people, the same negative stigma that we're trying to say that we shouldn't be pointing a finger at people, saying, well, don't stick with people, but that's exactly what people go back to. um,
Hmm.
and that's where we need to start. We need to give people the opportunity to live lives. There is way more to recovery and living a life recovered than just not using drugs.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up because I recently went online sometime with the pandemic going on and, extended periods at home and that type of thing. I decided to do some education, get some education. And I went to the CAMH website and they have a course there. It's a free course. It's called Understanding Stigma. And it was designed for medical professionals because it is still happening. This course outlined it really, really well. There are, and I'm not saying this is happening in our facilities. I'm not saying it's not happening in our facilities, but what I'm saying is that you could go in for any kind of ailment, whether you broke your hand or whatever, and because you've been there and you've detoxed and you're have you, your addiction is what is seen every time that you sit in that chair, every time you present at that facility. And so that is something that needs to be taught out of not only healthcare providers, but the general population as a whole. We all need to know that there is recovery. There's such a thing as recovery. And obviously, it takes a lot to get there, but there is such a thing.
You're absolutely right. I tell people, that I'm recovered. I've recovered from that seemingly hopeless state of mind and body.
Mm-hmm.
Even in a lot of the rooms, I get laughed at. Oh, you're the guy that's cured. Well, I never said it was cured. Cured and recovered are two different things. Um, you know, to live a recovered life, look at it this way. Have you ever had a cold, Leah?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a
Absolutely.
cold.
Have you recovered from that cold?
Yeah.
Are there things that you can do, Leah, to prevent yourself from catching a cold?
Absolutely.
Welcome to living a recovered life.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
that simple, and people make so much more out of it.
Mm.
I've had to have, as you know, I suffer from a lot of epigastric and umbilical hernia tears, and I have to wear a band all the time,
Mhm.
pretty much in anything that I do. And I've had to have surgeries in recovery, and I've been prescribed Percocet and things like that, during the recovery process. And I can remember taking some of them back to the pharmacy, and the pharmacist looking at me like, you know, what are you doing?
Right.
You're probably the only person in Sault Ste. Marie that's returned,
Returning this. Yeah.
And I just said to her, I said I didn't need them any longer. And I'm so grateful for my recovery process because that's where it took me. I learned, because, and I'll be honest, before I would have been like, hell yeah, I can get 2 more refills. I can start crushing these up and snorting them like candy. And I would have been right back full blown into my addiction. But I know full well, through the lifestyle change, the attitude change, the education, the understanding that I was taught and given in all of the literature that I've read, that I know that, the minute I make that choice to start acting and behaving that way again, I will be right back where I was. Now, with that said, had they kicked me out of the hospital with 28 staples, a drainage tube coming out of the side of my stomach, and went, here's a Tylenol, good luck, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have, that stigma in itself of treating me that way, not blaming them, but I probably would have looked for some medication,
Right.
um,
Mm-hmm.
on the street,
Yeah.
I'm not going to come home waiting for my nurse every day to come in and change my dressings and to help me to the washroom or whatever was necessary at the time,
Right.
and lay there in pain as a martyr because you used to call me a drug addict. And that's something
Right.
that we really have to get rid of. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
programs out there where you go in and everyone's like, "Hi, my name's I'm an alcoholic. Hi, my name's I'm an addict."
Mm-hmm.
I like to go in and say, good evening. I'm a recovered member of NA or AA, whatever it may be. My name is Warren, and I'm here to help.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
we need to start sharing with people that recovery is possible. And people try to mock me all the time. I just open the book. Here's your books. Your own literature says, we 100 men have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind. It talks about recovery, the word recovered in these books all over the place. People need to start doing the work. Just sitting in the chair is not going to do it.
Right, exactly. And this is something that you and I have kind of discussed at length, with the legalization of marijuana, and also safe injection sites. I know you have quite the opinion about safe injection sites. So what do you think that's all about?
Well, I was a polysub. I huffed gas, paint, glue.
Mm-hmm.
In earlier years, in my teenage years, before I graduated to being able to find and obtain more heavier street drugs legally. So I used anything and everything. I didn't really have a drug. My drug of choice is whatever I could get in my hands.
Right.
But when we start um, setting up sites, there's a certain group here in town that they have this slogan, we like to meet people where they're at. Absolutely. That is so important that we meet people where they're at. But if we're meeting them where they're at just to stick a needle in their arm and keep them high, we are not helping them from where they remain. And we
Right.
keep people stuck there. We need to help them out of there. And I often hear the excuse, well, if they're not ready this and if they're not ready that. Well, nobody's ever going to be ready if you keep enabling the problem.
Right.
I wouldn't be clean and sober today if when I got out of the hospital, somebody said, hey, we're going to hook you up with all the free injections you can handle. And we're going to continue to give you clothes and food and I understand these are basic necessities. Don't misunderstand me. I truly understand that. But if you start looking at our streets here in Sault Ste. Marie, I bet
Mm-hmm.
you I could probably leave this podcast and be back within 20 or 30 minutes and have 3 or 4 used needles, a couple of hoodies, a few pairs of pants. This has become, it's so readily free that it's now become debris and garbage in our city, because they just discard it because they can just go around the corner and get a handout somewhere else.
Right.
And we keep people stuck like that. We don't help people, we keep them stuck. Yeah, we're giving them a jacket. Yeah, we're giving them some shoes. Yeah, we're helping them with some food. But
Mm-hmm.
if you continuously did that for me, I would never have to take any accountability for my own money. And with that same understanding, I'm addicted to having a roof over my head. So why isn't my housing free?
Right.
I'm addicted to food. Why isn't my food free? Uh,
Right.
I'm, something that helps me with my mental health is to be able to jump in my truck, listen to some music, and drive around.
Mm-hmm.
Quite often, I drive around downtown, and I help. I Narcan 2 people this week. Got them up off
Oh.
the ground. I always have Narcan with me. And this is the problem. We have so much enablement. We have a methadone clinic in just about every pharmacy. There's 3 or 4 of them on Queen Street alone.
Yeah.
They talk about revitalizing the downtown, but we're just filling it with addiction center, with not even addiction treatment centers, with addiction enablement and use centers. And,
Mm-hmm.
and they call it, um, an opportunity to help people when really it's a substitution. I know many people who have tried to detox, methadone and have said to me, geez, Warren, it's worse than the heroin itself or the fentanyl itself.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So what about somebody who says, and this is something I'm sure that you and I have discussed again, what if somebody says, okay, well, the person that is my drug dealer lives, in the next building over from me, and I need to permanently get away from this person. Because I'm tempted by this person, so I'm going to uproot my life and move to a different city. What do you think about that solution?
Well, again, I could move to the North Pole and still find somebody to bring me a bottle if I really needed it.
Right.
Right. It's all about attitude and change. It's about personal preference. It's about making the choice to live a different way of life. You ever make a commitment to yourself?
Yeah.
If you stuck to it,
Sometimes.
there's your answer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The way that to be successful is to finally say to yourself, enough is enough. I'm going to make this decision to work and work into my life living.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's like a cold, right? Have you ever had one? Absolutely. Did you recover from it? Yes, you have. Can you catch it again? Most definitely. And that's your scenario of moving to a different city.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, okay, I'll move to a different city. Well, I can still catch the cold there.
Yeah,
If
that's
I'm
right.
not working on ways and means to prevent myself from catching that cold, it doesn't matter where I live.
That's right. That's right. You're going to find what you're looking for, whether you're in Sault Ste. Marie, whether you're in Toronto, whether you're in Calgary, whether you're in Ottawa, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. So, these things are pending. Of course, they're not a guarantee right now. Ross Romano says that 8 to 12 months. That's the goal to get this facility going. In the meantime, we do have a few options available. Like you did touch on them. We have methadone clinics. We have. We have a presence down in Jamestown that is well intended. We have a Sioux Area Hospital who, I've personally worked there in the past, and I have witnessed many detoxes. Just like yourself, I'm a little concerned though the aftercare. People would come, they would detox, and then all of a sudden, what's happening now? And the stigma is still very alive and well. We're not really believing, we're preaching the idea of recovery, but we're not believing that it's actually happening. And there's steps towards recovery. So,
right. I think that's an important thing. We're preaching the steps to recovery, but we're not really following it through.
Right.
We're, half measures avail us nothing. We're doing half of what we need to do and none of what we should do. And like I said to you earlier, I'm not against the methadone clinics and things like that. And I'm not against, having, safe housing and things like that. But we can't have these things and still promote the drug use.
Right.
We can't expect people to medically detox. This is a lifestyle change, and it's a lifetime of change, about changing your life.
Right.
You just say, hey, 30 days, I'm cured. It doesn't work. You have to stay focused on what you're doing. Does it get easier? Absolutely. We all have days. One of the things that my sponsor said to me, Warren, you're always going to have days of heartache, stress, turmoil.
Right.
But only you choose how long to stop from it.
Right, exactly. So there is facilities like you're talking about. I believe the closest one to here is Elliott Lake, if I'm not mistaken. There's one there. And then there's, as you go further south, there are addiction treatment centers and that type of thing. It's very difficult to get into them. They're obviously full. They're obviously busy. And so there's obviously not enough of them.
Well, and that's kind of the point, Leah. I was saying earlier, we have Breton House for women here in Sault Ste. Marie as well. We have the Ken Brown facility here for men in Sault Ste. Marie. There's Elliott Lake, as you mentioned, but like you said, there's just not enough beds. And if we're going to get serious about addiction here in Sault Ste. Marie, 4 medical beds and 30 temporary beds is not enough.
Not enough.
I think, to start off 30 medical beds and 60 beds in total would probably still not be enough, but at least it would get a big portion. Look at what's happened recently in our community, how many people have been displaced in Jamestown. That facility is 4 medical beds is not going to cover the needs of the 15, 20 or 30 people that have been displaced from that building, where we know addiction is a major factor at. And why don't these people deserve that help? I think deserves that help. And I agree with meeting people where they're at. But I think if we're going to meet them where they're at, we've got to give them an option to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just about maybe giving them a safe place to inject or anything like that. It's about getting them the help they need to get away from the addiction, get off the drugs, that type of thing. So you and I were talking about, you brought up a good point. These people that were displaced, the crime rate in Sault Ste. Marie is up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. As I said, I spent 30 years on the streets in active addiction here in Sault Ste. Marie, and very rarely did you see a gun or a stabbing, a shooting or a stabbing, or
right.
The home invasions and robberies and things that are happening, and
Yeah.
and I hate to say it, it's nothing more than a drug war. This guy's getting it from this guy's getting it from these guys don't like either of it because they're getting it somewhere else, so they're all trying to, and you've got people that are in such desperate states that they're robbing their own drug dealers.
So do you think that the rise in the crime rate in Sault Ste. Marie is due to the availability of the drug problem, I guess you could say, as a whole in Sault Ste. Marie?
To a certain degree, absolutely. But it's also, we don't have adequate housing for people here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people living, in the bush, the city in certain areas in tents and things like that.
Right.
We don't have viable employment for people. And it's hard enough as an employer myself to find people, that are clean and sober. It's a liability for me, my company, and my career to take a gamble on people that say, "Oh, I'll be there, and then lunchtime rolls around and all you can smell is pot, or they disappear for 30 minutes and come back a completely different person. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. It's tough. And that's why I keep going back over and over to the importance of addiction-free housing, better education, better job placement, opportunities for people. Because without these things, it's just going to be a revolving circle. Detox, relapse, over and over and over again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And we were talking a little bit about the revitalization of the downtown. So you and I were talking about this earlier on the phone. They actually want to, at 99 Foster Drive, they want to expand what's where our lovely Civic Center is. And they want to add all of this stuff. I believe it's 8.4 million is the price tag. What do you think of that? That's quite, close to the area where there's methadone clinics, where there's a lot of drug dealers. I don't know about you. I walked down Queen Street the other day. I was kind of scared. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, more and more people are saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They did a Let's Revitalize Gore Street. And now they've got big cement barriers in the middle of lanes. They tore out traffic lights and created how many accidents. And
Absolutely.
then we'll make it a 4-way stop, and they put up a bunch of stop signs that are hidden by the trees that they put up to beautify the area. And then, like I said, they throw these cement barriers in there, and then they put in a resource center, and then they shut down the resource center because it's not safe. But yet people still live in the building above it. I don't know why it's safe for that one little square corner and not the rest of the building. These are all things that our city seems to be going backwards. And if we have $8 million, to build a splash pad and a play area, I really think that we need to start investing in our community and the people who live in it. And, everybody talks about the poor drug addict, the poor drug addict, the poor drug addict. These people are not poor. If you have a $200 a day habit, which is fairly basic, really, $100 a day habit times 30 days a month, that's $3,000 a month tax free. And it's all being spent on drugs because they're getting, free food, free clothing, free needles, free everything. When I wanted to get high, I at least had to go out to the garage and build something, build myself a pipe. I had to get up and go out and find the ways and means to use and to get more. But now you don't even need to do that. You can have a nurse come to your door, bring you a group of needles, and wash and waters and filters and spoons, and you get the pretty little envelopes with your crack pipes and your crack pipes and your meth pipes, and with pictured colored diagrams, and it's like a Kinder Surprise for drug addicts.
Wow.
And it's got little pushes to clean it out, and explains to you how to clean it and how to use it and how to build it and how to put it together, and it's just like a Kinder Surprise. And um, and that's great. I can understand that we don't want to pass on bloodborne viruses and things like that from one addict to another. But if everybody gave me the ways and means to get more, like you talked about COVID, for example, now they're saying stay in your house, and they're giving you $2,000 a month to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So many people, addicts in general, that went, wow, I'm
Done.
going from $600 a month on welfare to I can fraud the government with a phone call and get $2,000 deposited into my account. And you wonder why overdoses are rise. Well, we're handing them out all the needles they need. We're giving them all the money, and where's all this resource and stuff that taxpayers are going to eventually end up paying for is going into the drug economy. And you wonder why there's so many guns and things on the street now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. With COVID-19 and all these pandemic, measures, people find themselves bored, and they have all kinds of money because they're not going anywhere. They're not spending it on anything. And you can get whatever it is that you need handed to you for free. So really, at the end of the day, what are you going to do? Well, you're probably going to go and stir up some trouble, because why not? You're high as a kite and you've got a bunch of time on your hands. So
You're right. And addiction goes further than just that too. I mean, you know me about smoking, and I talk about smoking. You have to treat the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
The behavior is the addiction.
That's right.
It's not the substance we use.
Right.
It's the method of delivery. None of these things amount to. They're just a symptom of the problem. And I tell people, if you're face down in the ditch drunk, Leah, and I'm face down in the ditch stoned, where are we?
Face down in a ditch.
Face down in the ditch. It doesn't matter what got us there, or how we got there, or what we used to get there, or what, whether, you put it in your eye or I put it in my nose, or we drank it or smoked it or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters is the result that it produces. And that's where we need to start the treatment. After we've detoxed people and helped people with getting clean, there's a lot more going on here.
Right.
It's not just a physical problem. It's a physical and mental malady. And it needs to be addressed on both ends.
So the amount here that was presented was the government was announcing $343,000, like I said, of ongoing operational funding. So to me, that sounds like this is what they're already getting, because it's ongoing. So right. This is what they're already getting. And right now, we're not funding any particular facility. We don't have 20 beds, short-term beds, and 4 long-term beds. We don't have that currently. So do you really think that this is a feasible plan? Do you really think that that amount of money is going to support even what they're proposing?
Well, I haven't really done a lot of research on the money, but I can tell you, I know people that I've taken. It used to be John Howard, I think. Now it's a smaller shop in the front. They're giving away needles and cell phones and waters and wipes and filters and spoons and these Kinder Surprise like drugs. And I don't know, what does a needle cost? I think you can go to the pharmacy, and I think you get a package of 6 or something like that, and they're like $15 or $20. People come out with multiple boxes by the hundreds.
Right.
And that's one person. And I'm looking at all this stuff going, man, you've got to have probably, close to $800 to $1,000 worth of medical supplies in this bag that they gave you because you're an IV user. I'm sure there's more than one. Free. So if you have, say even 100 people a week, you're looking at, anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000 a week in medical supplies being handed out. And I call them medical supplies because that's what they are. Whether to to abuse drugs or not, there's still medical supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, with a budget of $343,000, you're probably good for about a month.
Wow. That's really not a whole lot of money, is it?
No. And again, I don't know where all these, you know, they try to tell people that, you know, all this stuff is donated. That's a pretty hefty donation. You know, don't want you to believe that it's coming out of the medical system from taxpayers' money.
Right.
You know, because they want you to start supporting this. And
Right.
you know, before, and I'll say it again, I'm all for supporting recovery, but I'm not here to enable addiction.
Right. Right. And that's funny that you say that, because a lot of people think, well, that this is the solution. This is all we can do right now, is that we can, you know, make sure that people are safe and they're detoxing in a safe place. What would you say to that?
Well, that's the issue. You know, that's, you know, again, let's go back to harm reduction, right? So you keep someone safe for 6, 8, 10 days while you detox them, and then where do you send them?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right back into harm's way.
Right.
Right. So harm is still harm, whether you detox somebody or not. You have to give them the opportunity to change their lives. You've got to provide addiction-free housing afterwards. You've got to provide, you know, and I don't want to sound like some person that's trying to force things, because I'm not trying to force it. But you know, if you're a person that makes a choice that you don't want to live that way and you want to continue to remain as an addict, then you know, if you're committing crimes and things like that, then you should be subject to the criminal laws that apply to what you're doing, and not getting a free get out of jail card because you're an addict and you need help.
You know, let's discuss that for just a moment. It seems as though right now the justice system is more of a revolving door. It's a catch and release thing right now. So police are going, they're catching people doing what they need to do, their jobs, and then, you know, you get in front of a judge and it's like, okay, well, you're an addict, and they're gone again. So they're back out on the street. There's no mandated recovery. There's no mandated, you know, programs that you need to be into. So why is it then that our social service system is so overburdened?
And that's a good point. You know, and that's part of what I'm saying. You know, if you're in court and you're deemed as an addict and you need help, then you should be sent to facilities like I'm talking about, that will provide you with a tiny home, that will provide you with a gated community of addiction free, that has counseling on site, that has medical facility on site, and has ways and means to help you continue your education and your ability to move forward in life. You know, they talk about rehabilitation in jail or prison, when really I don't think there's quite the type of rehabilitation to give people success when they get out. And it's the same with drug use. You know, you can detox people all you want, but if you send them right back to the same trap house that they came to you from, you're creating more harm. And here's why: because now you've detoxed them, so they don't quite have the tolerance that they had originally.
Yeah.
And then they go back out and they use what they used previously, and they overdose and die. And then everybody goes, "Oh, poor person," right?
Right.
In the meantime, what nobody takes accountability for is that, you know, they got detoxed, they got cleaned up, and they got kicked right back out into the same situation,
Right.
right back to where they were, and they no longer had that tolerance. So we talk about harm reduction. You're not really reducing the harm; you're putting them more in harm's way, because you're not following through with the bigger picture.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, this is a really big eye opener for a lot of people, because a lot of people just see, because it doesn't affect them, right? They're not an addict. They don't have a family member that's an addict. And maybe they do have a family member that's an addict, but that person is like not talked about, right? That person is just gone and we don't know what they're doing. And it really doesn't matter, because who cares, right? You know, myself, over my past couple of years, I've learned to get to know a lot of addicts. Yourself definitely is one of them. I mean, you and I first started, I think we met over 16 years ago, because I just had my son when I joined you at Dell at the old White Rose at Sutherland. You know, we started, you know, we did a lot of great team stuff there, by the way. I thought we were a great little group.
Was before that even.
Yeah. That's right. You know, so this was before, and Wyatt is now 16 years old. So we've known each other a long, long time. And I have other people in my life that I'm aware of. Whether I still talk to them or not is subject to debate. But regardless, they are addicts. And there's a lot of people who come in and out of their lives. And so they kind of expect people to leave. And so, I really don't want to give up on these people. I don't want to, but a lot of people have that in them. I want to help them. I want to be there for them. But are you helping or are you enabling?
That's a good question, because 9 out of 10 times, I'm not even going to stretch that, 9.99% of the time,
Mm-hmm.
it's enablement.
You're enabling. Mm-hmm.
No, it's something, and there's also self-care. Like, people are always, I tell people, well, why don't you bring these people into your home?
Mm-hmm.
Addicts into your home, and when your jewelry goes missing or whatever isn't tied down that they can convert into drugs, then tell me, how much help you've provided them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And people start to realize that, I'm only putting myself in danger as well,
Mm-hmm.
while I'm helping, but I'm enabling, right? And I know tough love is kind of looked down upon sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it's not really tough love; it's self-preservation as well, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You have children in your home. People have children in their home.
Yeah.
You can't keep subjecting everybody in your home to the misbehavior of one.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that these people that you should give up on them, but certainly every time you give them money, or every time, I mean, look at our grocery stores. The meat racks are being robbed regularly.
Yeah.
To drop groceries off to somebody, they'll be like, "Ooh, I got all this meat. Thanks, Warren, for bringing me $100 worth of groceries today. I can take, half of this to my dealer and get some dope, right?"
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and addicts are very smart people.
Yeah.
And we talk about being overrun by the addiction so often, but it's so many of these people are amazing artists, poets, artists. I've met so many people, both in and out of addiction,
Yeah.
are just so talented.
So smart. So
Um,
smart.
Absolutely. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people that are capable of going out and finding $100 or $200 worth of cash every single day to feed their house.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine what these people that have these amazing talents in the first place could do with them,
Mm-hmm.
being clean and sober? That
Absolutely.
$100 or $200 a day into thousands of dollars.
Yeah. I don't know how many times I would speak with my father and he used to know somebody, or he'd see that, an obituary that this person has passed on or whatever. And he'd say that person was the best body mechanic in Sault Ste. Marie, or that person was the best, he was the best carpenter in Sault Ste. Marie if he was sober.
I have some artwork that I'll share with you. I don't know if you can see it here.
Oh, wonderful. Look at that.
This is
Oh
from a
my
fellow that
gosh.
I was in treatment with. And I don't know if he's still alive or around, or if he's at his reserve in Quebec, or where
Right.
it may be. I
Mm-hmm.
can only hope and pray that he's doing well.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, the last that I heard of him, he was back out using. But he's
Oh,
amazing. I mean, the man just, the artwork that he does is just
how
absolutely
beautiful.
and beautiful. And he has so much potential.
Wow.
But he's,
Wow.
we're not giving people the opportunity to let their potential shine.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
give them more drugs. Let's stick more needles in their arm. Let's give them substitution
Mm-hmm.
instead of recovery options. People talk about marijuana and things like that. A drug is a drug.
Right.
And everyone's like, oh, it's a medicine. It's not a gateway drug. I can tell you, ask any addict. And this is where we're going wrong, Leah. You talked about what can we do to help addicts. We need to
Mm-hmm.
talk to addicts. We need to talk to people like myself, for example, who have found a way
Yeah.
to have recovery. I've never
Yes.
relapsed. I've never had a relapse. I've
Good for
always been
you.
to the recovery process,
Yeah.
living it. Um,
Yes.
we have so many, and I'm just as guilty on the other side of the coin. I often say, knowledge without experience is just information.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
have a college degree. I don't have a university degree in addictions. I don't have a, I could jump online and do one of those online courses and get a quick little degree in addictions counseling. Uh,
Hmm.
but I lived it as well, you know.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think we're missing out on. We've got a bunch of people with textbooks and degrees that have never lived addiction, that have never been um,
Yeah.
afflicted by it or affected by it.
That's
Um,
right.
and they're
Hmm.
making all these decisions for people on how things should work and what they should do and how our detoxes should be run. And they're not really understanding, I think, the actual living process of being an addict. And I think
Right.
where they're missing the big.
Hmm. So, how big is the drug problem in Sault Ste. Marie? Is it as big as everybody thinks it is? Is it bigger? Is it smaller? What do you think?
Well, there's a lot of people that know me in this city.
Hmm.
And I spent 30 years in active addiction in this city.
Hmm.
Um, I did my fair share of whatever was involved to find ways and means to get more.
Hmm.
As I said, I Narcan two people randomly this week on the street. One of them was
Hmm.
actually at the old resource center building,
Hmm.
passed out on the sidewalk. I often, as I said, part of something that helps my mental health is, especially being with COVID being, my business has been shut down as a result of COVID. I'm living, uh, you know, skull and bones. I'm applying for any job I can possibly get. And the rising cost of fuel is even making my mental health ability to get out and drive around, listen to music a little bit more. I still do, and often I'll grab $20 or $25 worth of McDoubles, and I have a lot of sponsees that are out on the street, and I have a lot of sponsees that are doing well. And I roll up on people, and I'm always looking for the Jacks and the Dans and the Lukes and the Rochelles and the Cheryls and there's just so many that I know.
Hmm.
And I'm always out making contact with people. Want a coffee, want a hamburger, want what's going on. What can we do to get you off the street? And that's what I think that our community is missing, is talking to
Yeah.
people that are on the street. But we have to also be smart enough to know the difference, right? If I'm a drug addict, I'm going to tell you, well, what you can do is get me an injection site, stick a needle in my arm every day, give me all the drugs that I could use, and literally, you have to be able to differentiate between the enablement and what people actually. Because I can honestly tell you, I'd be dead right now if all these facilities were available to me.
Yeah. Seems that way. A lot of people would just certainly take advantage of it.
Mhm.
And be done. Be done.
Yeah.
In our remaining time, because I'm sure we could talk about this all night. Let's talk COVID-19 a little bit. What's going on right now? Lots of people getting vaccinated. A coworker that you and I used to work with actually got her shot, and a dime stuck to her injection site. What do you think?
Yeah, you see all kinds of things out there. I have medical professionals in my life that are family
Mhm.
who don't want to get this vaccination. And I'm, by all means, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying don't, and I'm not saying
That's
do.
right.
It's your,
That's right. Hmm.
do or do not. It's entirely your decision.
That's right.
But one of the things that was expressed to me by one of the medical professionals in my family was that the class is a biological experimental drug, and that's why a lot of doctors aren't necessarily giving it out. They're doing it in. I think if you go to the Memorial Gardens here, and I don't know, if it's a licensed physician that's doing the injections or if it's
Nurses.
a bunch of people that have been trained to do injections, right?
Nurses. It's nurses. Yeah.
So there's the situation. There is a Hippocratical oath that is taken by doctors and things like that, and
Do no
um,
harm.
do
Mhm.
no harm. Exactly. And I've had a friend of mine who is also a diabetic who said, well, years ago I used to get these that were classed as experimental, but they were like in use for 20 years and still classed as
Sure.
experimental. And then I changed my job and my insurance or something changed, and And then I got on a special program, and because I was on a special program, they wouldn't allow me to take the experimental ones anymore. I had to change to something that's been classified, approved, right? And
Right.
classified experimental.
Mhm.
He argued with me about, why you should get this shot. And I'm like, well, that's exactly the reason. There's a no liability clause, and at
Yes.
this point, God bless everybody, and I hope things turn out well. But
Yeah.
1 month, 1 year, this vaccine is very new. Who knows
Mhm.
what happen 5-10 years from now? With we've heard about deaths and things already, and blood clotting and rash
Yes.
and these dimes and things. Being magnetically stuck to people's arms, and
Yeah.
at this point, there's a lot of conjecture and a lot of different opinion and hearsay.
Yeah.
With what's going on outside of COVID, that
Sure.
really with respect to the censorship of media, people, all these fact checks that really aren't exactly. Um, I've
Facts checks.
Yeah, I've had a few myself that kind of
Yes.
reinforced what I was saying, but yet injected their own opinion.
Yeah.
Um, this is the only pandemic, I think, in the lifetime of humanity that's needed a media and propaganda campaign
Mhm.
that's really that bad.
Yeah. It was really sad. I was speaking with my family yesterday. And I said Randy Hillier was in town. He is the MP from Frontenac, Kingston, that area. I actually got to meet him. Was very satisfied speaking with him. He got to speak with my son. But I said this to my family, and they said, "Who's that?" And I said, "Are you kidding me? You don't know your own government. You don't know who this person is. You should have known. You should know who this person is and what they do for your government." Because I'm finding a lot of lacking in people's education about the governmental system. And my son was taking a civics class in school. Now, I want to make it very clear for everyone. My son is in grade 10, okay? Grade 10. It wasn't until grade 10 that he started learning about his government and what makes the world go round, and who governs what, and what can they say and what can they do. He's not been taught his human rights yet. He hasn't, it just blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Blows my mind.
Yeah, I don't think people turn on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
They just accept the mainstream media as being truthful or being
Right.
accurate or complete in their journalism.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's not always the case. And I really think that the little shows like this, for example, or different news stations, different media options, uh,
Mm-hmm.
that people just disregard them because they're not part of the regular programming.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the sad reality. I think people really need to, instead of just turning on the TV and accepting things as being they are what they are.
Mm-hmm.
We don't question anything anymore, and we
No.
just expect that our government is just have our best interest at heart, and that's the bottom line, and we don't ever question anything. And that's the whole point to living in North America and being part of a free society. It's our job to question things, and it's a little bit different in Canada, being we are still kind of part of that colonial system.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it happening now with different, like the C10, I believe it is, and
Mm-hmm.
they're want to censor
They
media.
want to censor us through the internet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like look at Bellevue Park, for example. The last
Mm-hmm.
Saturdays, they've had those freedom speeches and talking
Mm-hmm.
about COVID and our rights and things being violated during this process.
And they are.
And they are, and I don't disagree with that. And they're out there handing out fines for gathering and everything but yet we have all of these other organizations that we're talking about, that we're seeing in the media, like these safe spaces, as they call themselves, and things like that are out having barbecues and cookouts and at the corner of parks, with many people around that are high, where people believe they're shooting up in these tents, and
Mm-hmm.
not a single fine or anything there. Where finally
Right.
spoke up, and now all of a sudden there's a no trespassing. But it's starting to get to a point where speaking up is no longer a human right.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to a little bit about what I was saying when my family didn't know what an MP was. It's kind of scary because you're not taught your human rights. You're not taught what your government can and cannot do. You're not taught. The government puts this person and this person up for election. Do you have to choose between these people? Is there other people? How is another group formed? How can this? How does all of this work? And that is the lack in education. Warren and I will be on again. I hope to have Warren on a regular basis so that we can talk more about these things. I'm gonna end our show because, like I said, I'm pretty sure we could talk about this all night, but I don't think anybody's going to listen to us for that amount of time. So we'll have to be on again and chit chat more about this stuff. But this is the lack in the education system. And I'm with you, Warren. I want everybody to know I'm taking a stand right now. I want everyone to know it has come out that I'm anti-mask and anti-vaccine. I'm neither one of those. I am pro-medical freedom. I want everybody to be able to make their own decision. However, everyone has the right to know all of the facts. And what's happening right now is that people are not being told everything. The facts are being skewed. There's medical information that people are not allowed to have. It's being omitted. Just the fact checker says, vaccines are safe. And that's the fact check. Okay, well, this is not, and it's acceptable. Warren, you and I have had conversations all the time about this. It's okay to question your gender. It's okay to question your own sexuality. And it's okay to question, who you are as a person and your values, but it's not okay to question what's going on in government, what's being put in your own body, and all of those things. So I really think that people need to start waking up and thinking, why is it okay to question my gender, my sexuality, but it's not okay to question government policies and procedures?
Right. And I think, real quick, I know you want to wrap things up here.
Sure.
With what you're talking about, we have a list of people we can vote for. And I tell people, I'm not voting. Well, if you don't vote, then you don't have an opinion or you can't say anything. Mm-hmm. Well, here's my opinion. When I have a list of 4 people that I wouldn't vote for, why do I have to pick one?
Right.
Why should I be to picking the lesser of 4 evils?
You shouldn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People don't realize that they can put their own name on a ballot.
Yes.
They can put,
no confidence.
Or no confidence. Exactly.
Yes. No confidence.
You don't have to just take the multiple choice options you're given.
That's right.
And this is part of the lack in the education as you're talking about.
Yes.
And that's kind of why we're going the route we're going right now with things like the postponement of another election. I've heard that's coming now. We're going to postpone the election until we're sure COVID's clear, and then we can do an election properly. Well,
right.
Once your government files for a state of emergency, they can just keep calling anything to keep it in emergency.
That's right.
You may never have those options again.
You can always say it's for your own safety. So I walk out my door, I could potentially fall down my stairs. I could potentially slip and fall on the ice. I could potentially get hit by a car. So does that mean I should never leave my house?
Exactly.
Driving is not safe. Warren, you should not drive because you could get in your car and you could hit something.
I take the risk every time I get in the vehicle that you may be coming the other way.
Absolutely. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. And there is a video out there I'm going to show on our next show with regards to this. This is an epidemiologist. He is a virologist, and he's talking about the vaccine. It's quite a lengthy video, so I'll probably end up playing it prior to us coming on, but we'll see. And anyways, hopefully you'll join me again. On Wednesday, I'm going to have another lovely lady who is part of the Indigenous culture, and she's going to talk with me about the 215 bodies that were found in BC. Very sad at the residential schools, but unfortunately, and just to touch on that for a moment, it's not as if these residential schools is a surprise. It shouldn't be a huge surprise. That has been going on for years. We are now dealing with the PTSD, the damage that the Indigenous culture has suffered because of these residential schools and the what they tried to assimilate the Indigenous people. So that's going to be coming up on Wednesday. We're also going to talk about what's being reopened and what's getting ready to reopen this summer. And is this reopening plan viable and fair? So thanks so much for joining me. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate coming on and speaking with you as always.
Yeah. All right. You take care and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.